I still remember the taste of that summer. It was beer, mixed with the salty tang of the sea breeze and the faint scent of coconut from her. My name is Lin Bei. 24 years old. After graduating from university, I worked as a designer at a small company. My life as bland as plain water. Until that weekend, my friend Juicy Hao insisted I go relax at a seaside guest house, saying I'd mold if I didn't get out. I couldn't be bothered. He yelled over the phone, Lin Bei, if you don't come, we're done as friends. Fight go. The guest house was on the edge of an undeveloped little fishing village. 3 stories, white walls, blue windows. Open the window and you could see the sea. The owner was a woman in her 40s. Surname Chen, hand dark from the sun. Her laugh was so loud it could travel 3 streets. She checked us in, chattering, you've come at a good time. There's another woman staying alone, on the 2nd floor. Just the 3 of you. I didn't think much of it and took my luggage upstairs. After getting settled, I went downstairs for some water. Just as I turned into the kitchen, I almost collided with someone. Sorry, I stepped back half a step and finally got a good look at her. She wore a light blue floral dress, her hair casually tied in a messy bun, revealing her slender neck. Her features weren't stunning, but her skin was radiantly pale, and her eyes were very bright, like they held a cup of seawater. She was holding a glass of lemonade. She spilled a few drops on her dress. It's okay. I fell for not looking where I was going, I said quickly, handing her a tissue. She took the tissue, looked up at me, and the corner of her mouth curved. Are you staying here too? Yeah, just got here. I came alone too. Just wanted some peace and quiet for a couple of days. With that, she went upstairs with her glass. Leaving behind a light, graceful silhouette, Juicy Hao poked his head out from upstairs, a mischievous grin on his face. Lin Bei, you're smoother. This guy you went already chatting up the pretty girl. Get lost. It was an accident. An accident. Sure it was. But my heart did skip a beat. There's a saying, isn't there? Some people win the moment they simply stand there. That evening, missing, Chen set up a small barbecue in the yard, saying it was to welcome us guests. The 4 of us, me, Juicy Hao, the girl, and 2 university students from a neighboring city sat together. The sea breeze blew in waves, the charcoal fire painting everyone's faces red. That's how I learned her name. Suwon, 26 years old, an editor at a publishing house in the city. She said she was buried in edits and needed some time by the sea to think, to revise her manuscripts, to feel the breeze. And you? She asked me. Designer. Stare at a computer all day drawing until my eyes feel like they're going to fall out. She laughed. A light sound, like wind chimes made of shells. Then we're the same. We both live by our eyes. Halfway through the barbecue, Juicy Hao, tactless as ever, started urging everyone to play Truth or Dare. The 2 students chimed in. Suwon didn't object, so I reluctantly went along. The bottle spun a few rounds. When it landed on Suwon, Juicy Hao asked, what's your ideal partner like? Suwon thought for a moment. Glanced at me, just a quick glance, but I caught it. She said, probably someone who can just be quietly with me. He doesn't need to be eloquent, just able to understand my silences. She didn't look at me when she said it, but I felt like those words were for me. Back in the room that night, Juicy Hao was already fast asleep, but I tossed and turned. My mind was full of Suwon's expression. When she said those words, her eyes gazing at the distant sea, her voice low, as if talking to herself. Early the next morning, I was woken by the sound of the waves. Pushing open the window, I saw Suwon was already sitting on the beach, a small laptop table set up in front of her, typing on her computer. She had changed into a long white dress. The sea breeze lifted the hem, blowing her hair into a charming mess. But she seemed oblivious, focused intently on the screen. Something compelled me to go downstairs. I poured the cups of coffee in the kitchen and took them over. Morning. I handed her a cup. She looked up, startled for a second, then smiled. Thanks. How did you know I drink coffee? You mentioned it at the barbecue yesterday. No sugar, no milk. Her expression froze for a moment, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. She took the coffee and said softly, you're pretty observant. I sat down next to her. Neither of us spoke for a while. We just sat there quietly listening to the waves hit the shore again and again. After about 10 minutes, she suddenly said, Lin Bei, have you ever felt that with some people, you can be together without talking and it's not awkward? Yes, I said. I cried now. She smiled again, this time deeper, her eyes curving into crescents. The next 2 days, Suwon and I were almost inseparable. Even Juicy Hao, the 3rd wheel, had the sense to say he was going to explore the nearby town, leaving me alone at the guest house with her. During the day, we walked along the beach together. She walked barefoot in the sand, and I followed behind, carrying her sandals. Occasionally, she'd look back at me, a playful glint in her eyes, and asked, "Do you think I'm being childish?" "No, I think you're very." She stopped. The sea breeze blew her hair, some strands hitching to her cheeks. Just looked at me. The air suddenly felt different, and I didn't know what to say either. I just stood there. Finally, she looked away first and smiled. "Let's walk a little further. I heard there's a lighthouse over there." On the third day, as evening fell, we watched the sunset from the lighthouse. The sky and sea were flooded with orange-red light. Her face was bathed in warm hues. Hugging her knees, then suddenly leaned over her shoulder, gently touching mine. I didn't move away. I just let her lean. "Wenbei," she said. "Huh? Had you ever thought about what it would be like if time stopped right here?" I thought for a moment. I wouldn't be so bad. She turned her head to look at me. Her eyes held the light of the setting sun, and something I couldn't quite read. She opened her mouth as if to say something, but in the end, she just sighed softly and rested her head on my shoulder. At that moment, I smelled the coconut in her hair, felt the warmth of her body. My heart pounded like it was about to burst, but I held back. I didn't reach out to hold her, didn't say anything extra, until the sun had completely sunk into the sea and stars appeared, one by one. On the walk back, she suddenly reached down and grabbed my wrist. Just a quick tug, for about 2 or 3 seconds, then let go. "What's wrong?" I asked. I just felt like holding it. I didn't understand then. I understood later. That was her first clear signal. After dinner that evening, Suwan and I were enjoying the cool air in the yard. Jiziha was nowhere to be seen. The whole yard was just the two of us, and I sit beside her, chatting idly. "Wenbei, you're leaving tomorrow, right?" "Yeah." "Oh." She looked down, drawing circles in the dirt with her toe. After a moment of silence, she suddenly looked up at me. "Do you want to come to my room for a bit? I brought a bottle of wine. Drinking alone is no fun." Her voice was very soft when she said it. She wasn't looking at me, but at the glass in her hand, but I noticed her ears were red, very red. My heart did a somersault, but I didn't let it show. I smiled and said, "Sure." "What kind of wine?" "White wine." Around 9, I showered, changed into clean clothes, and stood outside her door for a good half-minute before knocking. When she opened the door, she had changed into a strappy, silk nightgown with a thin cardigan over it. Her hair was down, over her shoulders, still damp. She must have just showered too. The only light in the room came from the bedside lamp, casting a warm, dim glow. The window was cracked open, the sea breeze making the gauze curtains drift gently. On her small table were 2 glasses, the wine already opened, along with a small plate of cheese and a few strawberries. "Come in. Don't just stand there." She sat cross-legged on the bed and patted the spot next to her. I sat down on the edge of the bed. She poured wine and handed me a glass. When the glasses clinked, her finger accidentally touched my hand. She didn't pull away immediately. She paused for a second. "Cheers, eh?" Looking at me from above the rim of her glass. "Cheers?" After a few sips, the atmosphere gradually relaxed. We talked a lot. The sea she remembered from her grandmother's house, though not as big as this one. Her college major in Chinese, her accidental career in publishing, 2 relationships and neither long, both fizzling out. "And you?" she asked. "How many have you had?" 2. Yeah, that was quite right. "What do you mean?" "Not quite right." I thought about it. It felt like something was off. Like wearing a pair of shoes that don't fit. You can walk in them, but they're not comfortable. She smiled softly at that. Then, "Do you feel comfortable with me?" The question came out of nowhere. My hand, holding the wine glass, paused. She seemed surprised at herself for asking. Her cheeks flushed crimson, and she quickly looked down and took a drink. The room was quiet for a few seconds. Only the sound of the waves and the wind. "Yes," I said. "Very comfortable." Her eyes were different now, carrying a hint of intoxication, a touch of shyness, and a glimmer of hope. It was an expression I'd never seen in another woman's eyes. But she was asking really? We were quiet again. No one spoke, but this silence was different. Something seemed to be fermenting in the air. Hot, sticky, almost suffocating. She put down her glass and scooted a little closer to me. Just a little, just enough for her knee to touch my leg. She didn't move away. "Suwon," I said. Didn't you drink a little fast tonight?" She shook her head, looked up at me, her lips slightly parted, as if wanting to speak. Her eyelashes were long, casting a small shadow in the dim light. Her eyes shimmered, whether from the wine or something else. "Wenbei," her voice was very low, almost drowned out by the waves. Had you ever wanted to hold me? My heart stopped for a beat. When did you start wondering that? I tried to keep my voice steady. The day you brought me coffee on the beach. Her eyes were fixed on me. When you said no sugar, no milk, I thought, this person seems different. Her hand slowly reached out, her fingertips resting on the back of my hand, with a faint warmth in the wine. I hesitated no longer. I turned my hand over and held hers. Her hand was small, her fingers slender. Holding it felt like holding a seashell. Instead, she interlaced her fingers with mine. Wenbei, she said my name, her voice quivering a little. My heart is beating really fast right now. Mine too. She smiled, a very light smile, but her eyes shone. Slowly, she leaned in and rested her head against my chest. I could feel her breath through my thin t-shirt, soft and uneven. I raised my hand, hesitated, then gently placed it on her back. Her body trembled again, then she leaned into me completely, like a cat that had finally found its home. The room was very quiet. The wine bottle was more than half empty. The waves sounded steadily outside. I looked down at her. Her eyes were closed, her lashes fluttering, her lips gently pressed together. Two faint blushes colored her cheeks. Wine or something else. Suwa. She didn't open her eyes. I want to kiss you. She opened her eyes and looked at me, her gaze a little hazy. After a 2-second pause, she reached out, her finger lightly touching my lips, then quickly pulled back and buried her face in my chest. You, her voice was muffled. Do you have to say everything out loud? I didn't say anything more. I lowered my head and pressed my lips to her forehead. Her skin was cool with a faint taste of wine and coconut. She made a soft sound in my arms, and her body went limp. From her forehead to the tip of her nose, from her nose to her cheek, I kissed her inch by inch, like exploring unfamiliar waters. She kept her eyes closed, her hands clutching my collar tightly, her fingertips white. Finally, my lips found the corner of her mouth. She turned her head slightly and met me. That kiss was very, very light, like a feather landing on water. Her lips were a little dry, tasting of white wine, sweet with a hint of bitterness. She didn't pull away, didn't press forward. She just stayed there, her breath warm on my face. I deepened the kiss, one hand cradling the back of her head, the other circling her waist. Her waist was very thin, through the thin nightgown. I could feel her warmth rising, her hand sliding from my collar to my neck, encircling me. In that moment, the whole world went silent. The waves, the distant dog barks all gone. Only our breaths remained, mingling, growing heavier. I don't know how long passed before we parted. She leaned against my shoulder, breathing heavily, her ears red as if they might bleed. Wenbei, her voice was raspy. You said you weren't good with words. You were lying. I smiled and kissed the top of her head. I wasn't lying. I'm really not. But some things don't need words. She nuzzled against my chest, like a spoiled cat. That night, I didn't go back to my own room. We lay on that not-so-big bed and talked for a long time, until silver moonlight spread across the sea outside the window. She curled up in my arms, drawing circles on my chest with her finger. One circle after another, like writing characters I couldn't read. Suwon, I said, taking her finger. You're leaving tomorrow too, right? Yeah. She looked up at me. Same. She was quiet for a moment, then buried her face in my chest again. Her voice was muffled. Ben, after we go back, can we still see each other? Of course we can, I said. I don't only exist in this guest house. He smiled, a very soft smile, but her shoulders trembled slightly. I knew it wasn't cold. It was a little fear. Fear that the ambiguity of this night would dissolve by morning, like foam on the surface of the sea. I tightened my arms around her. Suwon listened to me. She looked up. Moonlight streamed through the window. Her eyes held light and uncertainty. I'm not good with pretty words, but I want to tell you that these past few days with you have been the most comfortable days I've had in years. I don't want it to end like this. She looked at me for a long time, so long I thought she might have fallen asleep. Then she smiled. She reached out and pinched my nose. Benbei, did you know your ears are even redder than mine when you say things like that? I touched my ears. They were burning hot. She laughed out loud, then leaned up and gave me a quick peck on the corner of my mouth, like a dragonfly skimming water. Ben, don't let it end, she said. The next afternoon, she wore the same light blue floral dress she'd arrived in. Her hair was down, not tied up. She carried her canvas bag. We stood at the city gate, either willing to leave first. You go first, she said. You go first. Benbei, don't be difficult. Suwon, don't you be difficult. She stamped her foot in mock frustration. then suddenly stepped forward, stood on her tiptoes, and kissed me on the lips. A few people around looked over, but she didn't care. Her eyes were bright as she looked at me. Message me when you get back. Don't wait until the next day. I won't. She smiled, turned in, and walked through the gate. After a few steps in, she looked back at me and waved. I stood there watching her disappear into the crowd. I couldn't keep the smile off my face. Later, Shuzi Hao asked me, Lin Bei, be honest. How far did things go with Suwan? I thought for a moment, beyond ambiguity, but not quite lovers soon. Soon though, he rolled his eyes. You're already like that and you're not lovers. Who are you trying to fool? I pulled out my phone and sent Suwan a message. I'm on the train. 3 seconds later, she replied. Me too. Lin Bei, I miss you already. I stared at those words for a long time. My heart started racing again. Outside the window, the scenery was flying by. The sun was beautiful. The wind was beautiful. I leaned back in my seat, a smile on my face, my mind full of how she looked last night in my arms, her hair spread on the pillow, her eyes half closed, her lips slightly parted, saying my name. What is ambiguity? Ambiguity tastes like beer, mixed with sea breeze, coconut, and the sweet bitterness of white wine. Ambiguity is when she leans on your shoulder without speaking, and you understand everything. Ambiguity is when she asks, have you ever wanted to hold me? And you know the answer was already written in the spaces between your intertwined fingers. And that summer by the sea was the beginning of all my ambiguity. 没问题，这是第二部分和第三部分的英文翻译。That summer, the ambiguity tasted like beer continued, but days after we returned felt like someone had pressed the fast-forward button. Suwon and I talked late into every night about what we ate that day, a stray cat we saw on the street, suddenly remembering a certain sentence, a certain kiss by the sea. Neither of us had clearly defined the relationship, but the warmth of the ambiguity could be felt even through the screen. She would send me a selfie around 10 at night, wearing loose longway, her hair casually tied up, throwing a peace sign at the camera. The caption read, work late again, exhausted. I'd zoom in on the photo for a long time, noticing a small mole on the side of her neck that I'd somehow missed back at the beach. Get some rest. You have work tomorrow. I'd reply, you don't want to talk longer? She sent back a pouty emoji. I do, but I'd rather you get enough sleep so you look energetic tomorrow. Lin Bei, you really are good with words. You lied when you said you weren't. I smiled at the screen and type only with you. She replied with a long string of ellipses, followed by a voice message. I played it. Her voice was low, tinged with a smile. If you ever talk to someone else like this, I'm showing them this. When ambiguity reaches this point, it's practically the same as being together. The only thing missing was saying those words. I wasn't in a hurry. I was waiting for the right moment, a moment worthy of her. Juicy Hao said I was pretending. Lin Bei, you're almost 30. Why are you being so fussy about a relationship? If you like her, just say it. Isn't it hard to hold it in? You wouldn't understand, I said. What's there to understand? You're just afraid of being rejected, right? I was afraid that if I did it casually, she might think I wasn't serious enough. A woman like Suwon might seem easygoing, but she was more sensitive than anyone. She didn't need someone who casually said, I like you. This person truly cares about me. 2 weeks later, on a Friday, she suddenly asked me, do you have any plans this weekend? No. 相信, I have some errands to run in your city this weekend. Want to meet up? I stared at the warden for a long time, unable to suppress my smile. She clearly wanted to see me, but she had to say it was incidental. Sure. When? I'll pick you up. 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Does that work? Of course it. Send me the train info. I arrived at the station an hour early. I changed clothes 3 times before finally leaving the house, settling on a thin black jacket over a white t-shirt. The one she teased me about, saying, you look good in white. I spotted her the moment she appeared at the exit. She was wearing a light gray knitted dress, fitted at the waist, accentuating her figure. Her hair was curled in loose waves, cascading over her shoulders. She wore light makeup, her lips coated in a thin layer of a dusty rose color. She dragged a small silver suitcase, still carrying that canvas bag on her shoulder. She was a far cry from the bare-faced Suwon in the floral dress by the sea, but her eyes were just as bright. When she saw me, her steps faltered for a moment, and she broke into a brilliant smile. My God, sunshine. Have you been waiting long? She stopped in front of me and looked up. No, just got here. Fire? She reached out and poked my chest with her finger. Your ears are red, Lin Bei. I caught her finger, holding it in my palm. Her hand was still cool, her finger slender. It trembled slightly in my grasp, but she didn't pull away. Come on, let's drop off your luggage first, I said. The hotel I booked was near the station, a 15-minute cab ride. She sat in the passenger seat the whole time. Hatimi dropped her. Her gaze was unashamed, fixed intently on me. What are you looking at? I felt a little self-conscious. At you, she said. We haven't seen each other for 2 weeks. Can't I look a little longer? The driver glanced at us in the rearview mirror, a knowing smile on his lips. At the hotel, I carried her suitcase upstairs. The room was on the 7th floor, clean, with a window overlooking the city's night view. She put down her bag, walked around the room, then sat on the edge of the bed and looked up at me. Lin Bei, you booked a double bed? I froze, my ears suddenly burning. I didn't notice when I booked. I can change it. No need, she interrupted, looking down, her voice very soft. The air suddenly went quiet. I stood at the door, still holding her suitcase, as if nailed to the spot. She looked up, saw my expression, and suddenly laughed. Her eyes curved merrily, a hint of mischief in them. Why are you acting like a block of wood? Come in. I put down the suitcase and sat down on the single armchair farthest from her. She glanced at me, got up and went to the bathroom to wash her face. When she came out, most of her makeup was gone, her skin almost glowing, a few drops of water still on her lips. What do you want for dinner? She asked, drying her hands. What do you feel like? Hot pot, she said. I want the really spicy kind. Can you handle spicy food? No, but I want it. I laughed at her logic. Okay then, spicy it is. Worst case, you lose your voice tomorrow, and I'll have Connie with you. She looked at me, her eyes softening. She came over and sat down next to me, not across from me, but beside me, her shoulder almost touching my arm. She had a faint fragrance about her, about the coconut scent from the beach, something sweeter. My peach. Lin Bei, did you miss me? Yes. How much? Every day. She was quiet for 2 seconds, then leaned her head against my shoulder, just like the first time at the lighthouse, but this time, she leaned harder. Hey, as if she knew I wouldn't move away. I missed you every day too. Her voice was muffled, coming from the hollow of my shoulder. At work while eating before falling asleep. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night, pick up my phone to message you, but I was afraid of waking you up. You wouldn't have woken me. I don't turn my phone off at night. She looked up at me, something swirling in her eyes. The neon lights from outside filtered in, making her face flicker between light and shadow. Lin Bei, that day at the beach, you asked if I wanted you to hold me. I want that now too. Her voice was so low it was almost inaudible. Can you? I didn't answer. I just reached out and pulled her fully into my arms. She let out a soft gasp, her arms encircling my waist, her face burying in my chest. Her body was soft, warm, with that peachy scent. She felt like a ball of cotton against me. I could feel her heart beat, fast, just like that night by the sea. We just held each other like that. The only sounds were the hum of the air conditioner and the occasional distant car horn. Slowly, she relaxed in my arms, her breathing steadying, her finger tracing light circles on my back. Lin Bei, you smell like laundry detergent. It's nice. It's a new bottle, Superpower brand. She laughed, her whole body shaking with it. Can you please not say such mundane things at a moment like this? You're killing the mood. I laughed too, tightening my arms around her, resting my chin on the top of her head. Suwon, I want to tell you something. She pulled back from my chest, looking up at me, her expression nervous, like a rabbit with its ears perked up. Go ahead. I looked into her eyes and took a deep breath. I like you. It's not just a fleeting feeling. It started the day you bumped into me in the kitchen. When I'm with you, I feel grounded and comfortable. I don't have to think about what to say next. I want to be with you. I just ambiguous, not just trying it out. I want to be seriously, properly together. I finished. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might leap out of my throat. She looked at me, and her eyes slowly reddened. I was about to ask what was wrong when she suddenly reached out and covered my mouth. Don't talk. Her voice was trembling. Let me just process this for a moment. I shut up and looked at her. Tears welled in her eyes, circled a few times and finally spilled over. She quickly wiped them away with the back of her hand, but they kept falling like a broken string. Suwon. She glared at me, but tears were still streaming down her face. She didn't look fierce at all. Instead, she looked like an angry kitten. I couldn't help but smile. I reached out and wiped her tears away. She caught my hand, interlaced our fingers, and held on tight. Lin Bei, her voice was hoarse. Do you know, I've been waiting for this for a long time, ever since we came back from the beach. I kept thinking you'd say it, but you never did. So I started wondering, was I just imagining things? Was that night with you just? No, I said, Itamina. I know now. She sniffled and smiled, tears still on her face. You're a designer. You're usually so decisive. Why are you so slow when it comes to love? Because I care, I said. The more I care, the less I dare to be casual. She looked at me, her gaze melting into something soft and watery. Then she leaned in and kissed me. This kiss was different from the one by the sea. My kiss was tentative, cautious, like stepping into the sea for the first time, unsure of the depth. But this kiss was different. Passionate, tasting of the salt of her tears and the intensity of 2 weeks of longing. Her hand slid into my hair. I held her waist. We both lost control a little. She fell back onto the bed, and I braced myself above her, looking down at her face. Her hair was spread across the white sheets, her cheeks flushed, her lips slightly parted, her eyes half closed, tears still clinging to her lashes. Linbei, she called me, her voice soft as if it might melt. You just said you wanted to be properly together. Yes. Then I'm telling you now. I'm willing. That night we didn't end up going for hot pot. We ordered Connie and some small dishes via delivery and ate them facing each other in the room. She was wearing my white t-shirt. It was too big, the collar slipping down past her collarbone. Her hair was tied in a loose bun, her face still carrying the flush from moments before. What are you staring at? She asked, self-conscious, looking down at her Connie. At how beautiful you are. Stop it. I don't have any makeup on. What's beautiful about that? You're beautiful even without makeup. Even more beautiful, actually. She put down her spoon and looked at me seriously for a few seconds. Wenbei, if you keep talking like that, I'm not going to get any sleep tonight. I smiled and didn't say anything more. We ate our Connie in comfortable silence. The window was open, the autumn wind bringing a chill. She shivered. I took off my jacket and put it around her shoulders. Wenbei, from now on, can we see each other every weekend? Okay? And video call on weekdays. You have to answer. Okay? If we fight on treatment, we talk it out the same day. Okay? Is okay all you can say? I thought for a moment. All right. She burst out laughing, put down her Connie bowl, and curled up in my arms. Wenbei, I think I found a treasure. So have I? We talked late into the night, until the neon lights outside the window went out one by one, until the whole city grew quiet. Her eyes were heavy with sleep, but her mouth kept moving, talking about her cat, about the author in her office who always waited until the last minute to submit manuscripts, about the rabbit she had as a child named Nyan Dao Rice Cake, responding occasionally, watching her slowly close her eyes, her breathing becoming even. Her eyelashes were long, and she slept, they curled slightly upward, like two little fans. Her lips were gently pressed together, the corners turned up just a little, as if she was having a sweet dream. I kissed her forehead. Good night, Susuwa. She didn't wake up, but the curve of her lips deepened. The next morning, I was woken by the sunlight streaming in. Opening my eyes, I saw Suwon was already awake. She was lying on her side, propping her head up with one hand. With the other, she was tracing the outline of my face in the air, from my eyebrows to my nose to my lips. Her movements were very, very light, as if she was painting a very important picture. When did you wake up? My voice was raspy. Half an hour ago. I was counting your eyelashes. How many were there? I forgot halfway through and had to start over. I laughed, caught her hand, then kissed it. Wenbei, can I wake up next to you every morning from now on? As long as you want to. She smiled, leaned in, and gave me a quick peck on the lips like a little bird stealing a bite. I want to, she said. Outside the sun was beautiful. The autumn sky was high and blue. Her face was especially beautiful in the morning light. Without makeup, her skin was almost translucent. Her eyes held light, as if they held an entire sea. The ambiguity that began by the sea, on an autumn morning, had finally become clear, unambiguous love. Nothing earth-shattering. No solemn vows, just one person asking, can I wake up next to you every morning? And another saying, as long as you want to. That was enough. Ambiguity tasted like beer, carried on sea breeze and coconut. But love tasted like plain coffee, bland, warm. Drinking it down spoonful by spoonful, it warmed your whole body. Later, Zhuzi Hao asked me, Wenbei, how did you and Suwon actually get together? Explain it to me. I thought for a moment. One day I asked her if she wanted to wake up next to me every morning. She said yes. That's it. That's it. Don't you have a more romantic version? I smiled and didn't answer. But I knew the more romantic version was hidden in those 2 weeks of longing. In that autumn embrace, in the way she looked drinking cognac in my white t-shirt, in the way her lips curved up slightly when she slept. Those were the most romantic part. And that summer, the sea was merely the beginning of the story. That summer, the ambiguity tasted like beer continued again. The days after we got together felt like someone had slowed down time. Before, time seemed to fly by: work, home, eat. Days passed, and when I looked back, nothing remained. But ever since Suwon walked into my life, every day felt substantial. Like someone had stuck a little note on each page of the calendar, recording something worth remembering. Our way of dating was simple. So simple that Juicy House said we acted like an elderly couple. We met on weekends. Either she came to my city, or I went to hers. The high-speed train between our cities only took 40 minutes, faster than driving across town in rush hour. On Friday nights, when she came out of the station, I'd be waiting. Seeing her dragging her suitcase towards me made me feel settled. One day, she'd spot me from afar and run over, almost tripping over her suitcase. Slow down, I'd say, studying her. I work late and didn't have time for dinner. What do you want to eat? Something you make. I'd freeze. Me. I only know how to make instant noodles. Then instant noodles. She took her arm through mine, grinning. The noodles you make will definitely taste better than what I make myself. That night, we really did have instant noodles. I made 2 packets, adding eggs, some greens, and a few slices of ham. Suwon sat at my small dining table, slurping noisily from her bowl. Not a trace of ladylike behavior. Good. Good. She looked up, soup still in the corner of her mouth. Minbei, do you know why it's good? Why? Because you made it. Her eyes were bright when she said it serious. But like she was joking. My heart warmed. I reached over and wiped the soup from the corner of her mouth. You can even turn instant noodles into all of confession. She went back to eating her noodles. I'd be willing to eat instant noodles you make for me every day. We can't have that. Your nutrition would suffer. She looked up at me, smiled, then learn how to cook. I will. Really? Really? She put down her chopsticks and held out her hand. Pinky swear. How old are you, still doing pinky swears? Pinky swear. She was insistent. I held out my hand and hooked my pinky with hers. She squeezed hard, as if signing a very important contract. As it turned out, the pinky swear worked. I really did learn to cook. Starting with scrambled eggs with tomatoes. The first time, I burned the eggs. I chopped the tomatoes into a mess. The third time, it finally looked somewhat decent. I took a picture and sent it to Suwon. She replied with a drooling emoji and said, I want to eat this next time I come. While I was learning to cook, Suwon wasn't idle either. She started bringing me things on her weekend visits. A pot of potatoes because my rental apartment was too bare. A book she had edited it, saying it was by her favorite author and I should read it too. A scarf she had knitted herself. It was gray, the stitches a little uneven, but very thick. When did you learn to knit? I asked, examining it. I learned it from the woman downstairs in my office building who knits sweaters. She looked a little embarrassed. Just make do with it for now. Next year, I'll knit you a better one. I don't need a better one. I wrapped the scarf around my neck. This one is great. She reached over and straightened it for me, stepped back to look, then nodded approvingly. Yeah, it looks good. My man looks good in anything. She said my man very naturally, but my ears, traitors that they were, turned red again. She saw it and laughed heartily. Wenbei, how old are you? How do your ears still get red so easily? Say that again, and I won't wear it. No, I won't say it anymore. She ran over and hugged my arm. Wear it. I spent a long time knitting it. I looked down at her. Her lashes fluttered. The tip of her nose was a little red from the cold. I took the scarf off and wrapped it around her neck instead. You wear it too. It's for you. We'll share it, I said. The scarf was long. Even wrapped twice. There was still extra. I held one end, she held the other. We stood in the cold wind, looking at each other laughing. An anti walking by glanced at us and smiled. Ah, to be young. Suwon's face flushed bright red, and she buried her face in the scarf. But her hand never let go of the other end. The days passed like that, from autumn into winter. One weekend in December, Suwon came to my city, saying she had a surprise for me. I asked what it was, but she wouldn't say. She was very mysterious, not even letting me help with her suitcase. When we got to my apartment, she opened her suitcase. I looked inside and froze. It was packed full of ingredients. Hot pot broth base, thinly sliced lamb, tripe shrimp paste, various meatballs, vegetables, mushrooms, and a bag of her homemade dipping sauce. Where did you bring all this from? I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. From the supermarket, she said, taking things out one by one. The supermarkets weren't authentic. I went specially to that old shop near my place. Their broth base is especially fragrant. Suan, we can buy these things here too. She was very serious. I chose these. They have my feelings in them. I didn't say anything more. I helped her carry everything to the kitchen. That night, we had hot pot at home. It was snowing lightly outside. Inside, the room was filled with steam. The red chili oil bubbled in the pot. Businesses making people cough. Suan ate until she was sweating. Her lips were red from the heat. She sucked in air while adding more ingredients to the pot. Eat slower. No one's going to take it from you. It's too good. I can't stop. She picked up a piece of tripe, swished it in the pot 7 or 8 times, popped it into her mouth and squinted in satisfaction. I looked at her and suddenly felt that this was the life I wanted. Had some grand, earth-shattering spectacle, just a steaming hot pot on a winter's day, with someone across the table who ate with relish. Wen Bei, she suddenly said, What are you looking at? At you. What's there to look at? My face is all sweaty. It's just beautiful. She put down her chopsticks and looked at me seriously. The steam from the hot pot rose between us. Her face was a little blurry in the mist, but her eyes were exceptionally clear. Wen Bei, have you ever thought about what we'll be like in the future? Yes. What? Like this, I said. Hot pot in winter, barbecue in summer, outings in spring, leaf watching in autumn. On weekends, you come here, or I go there. When you get tired of commuting, we'll live together. She listened quietly. Her eyes slowly reddened. Why do you say things like that? She sniffled. We agreed no random sentimental talk. I'm telling the truth. You're copying me. I learned it from you. She smiled, but tears fell. She quickly looked down and pretended to eat. I reached over and held her hand. Her hands were warm from the hot pot, the tips of her fingers smelling of chili. Sua. After the new year, move in with me. Her head shot up, her eyes wide, her mouth open. The shrimp paste on her chopsticks fell into the pot with a small splash. What did you say? Move in with me. Your company isn't far from here, 40 minutes by high-speed train, but commuting every day isn't practical. If you're willing, move here. You can change jobs or keep yours. I'll drive you to the station every day. She looked at me for a long time, so long I thought the soup in the pot might boil dry. Then she suddenly stood up, walked around the table, and sat directly on my lap. Her arms circled my neck, and she buried her face in the hollow of my shoulder. Wen Bei, do you know what you're saying? Yes, living together is serious. I know. You have to take responsibility for me. I will. She was silent. I felt her shoulders trembling slightly. Suwon, are you crying? No. Her voice was muffled. I'm laughing. I looked down. She was indeed smiling, but her face was also covered in tears. Are you crying or laughing? Both. Her eyes swimming in tears. I'm too happy. I can't control it. I reached out to wipe her tears. I wiped for a long time but couldn't get them all. Finally, I gave up and passed her head back onto my shoulder. Then cry for a while. Tell me the answer when you're done. I can tell you the answer right now. She lifted her head from my shoulder, looked into my eyes, and said word by word, I'm willing. That night, we ate hot pot until the early hours. We refilled the pot several times. The spiciness faded, but our hands remained clasped together. Outside, the snow fell heavily, painting the whole city white. Suwon leaned against me, a cup of hot tea in her hands, staring out the window. Wen Bei, do you think we'll ever fight? Probably. Are you afraid? No, I said. We'll fight, then we'll make up. We'll talk it out the same day. You promise? She smiled and nuzzled against me. Yes, I promise. And I keep my promises. After the new year, Suwon really did move. She quit her job at the publishing house and found a new one in my city. Still an editor. The salary was a bit lower than before, but she didn't care. I have you anyway, she said. On moving day, I went to help her pack. Her rental apartment wasn't big, but she had made it very cozy. Her photos were on the walls. Hundreds of books filled the shelves. Several pots of flowers sat on the balcony. You have a lot of the stuff, I said, looking at the pile of books with dismay. Is it a lot? I already threw away so much. She was crouched on the floor, folding clothes. Look at this dress. The one from the beach. Do you remember? I looked over. It was the light blue floral dress. Yes, I said. the one you were wearing when you bumped into me. Not me bumping into you. You bumping into me. She corrected me, folding the dress and putting it in the suitcase. This is our engagement dress. Engagement dress. I laughed. Did you invent that word? Yes, I did. Got a problem with it? She stood up, hands on her hips, looking at me. No problem. Teacher Sue is always right. She nodded contentedly and went back to packing. Halfway through, she took a small box out of a drawer, hesitated for a moment, then handed it to me. Look, inside was a stack of train tickets from the month we got together until last month. Every weekend, back and forth, dozens of tickets newly kept by her. The date on the first ticket was the first weekend after we confirmed our relationship. You kept all of them? Yeah. She looked a little embarrassed. I felt like they were meaningful, so I kept them. I flipped through the tickets. Each one was a mark of time, a 40-minute journey. Not far, but she made it every week without complaint. Sue won. You won't need to buy tickets anymore. She smiled, came over, and leaned on my shoulder. No more tickets. The first night in the new place, we did it up until midnight. Books were placed on the shelves, one by one. Clothes were hung in the closet one by one. The flowers she brought were placed on the balcony, lined up next to my pot of pothos. When everything was done, we stood in the middle of the living room, looking at our suddenly full home. Bae? She took my hand. This is our home. Yes, our home. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed me. Please take care of me from now on. Please take care of me from now on, I said. Later that night, we lay in bed. She curled on her side in my arms, her finger tracing circles on my chest, just like that night by the sea. Bae? Do you still remember the lighthouse by the sea? Yes. When can we go back and see it again? Okay. Stay in the same guest house. Sleep in the same bed. Okay. Drink white wine again. Okay. Let the sea breeze blow through our hair again. Okay. She looked up at me. Why are you so agreeable today? When am I not agreeable? You can be stubborn sometimes. She poked my chest. My class time when you said you weren't going to change that design plan. I tried to persuade you for ages, and you wouldn't listen. That's work. It's different. Not stubborn with me. Not with you. Satisfied. She buried her face in my chest again. Outside, the city was quiet. Faint lights still shone in the distance, like stars that had fallen to earth. I held her, feeling her warmth, her breath. An indescribable feeling welled up inside me. That excitement, not euphoria. Heavy sense of security. Like a boat, drifting on the sea for a long time, finally reaching the shore. Later, we really did go back that sea. The next summer, we took annual leave, booked the same guest house, stayed in the same room. Miss Chen still recognized us. She laughed as soon as she saw us. Oh, you two got together? I knew it. I could tell something was off last time you were here. Suwon's face turned crimson. I just smiled and didn't deny it. We went to the lighthouse, sat on the same rock, watched the sunset. The sea breeze still smelled of salt. The sky was still orange-red, but everything seemed the same, but everything was different. Last time we were here, we were the people lost in the ambiguity, hesitant, uncertain, neither daring to make the first move. This time, we were lovers, partners living together. Bae. Suwon leaned on my shoulder. Do you remember last time here? You asked if I wanted you to hold me? Yes. Why didn't you just hold me back then? Why did you have to ask? Because I wasn't sure, I said. I was afraid you wouldn't want me to. She smiled, turned her head to look at me, the sunset reflected in her eyes. Are you sure now? Yes. Sure of what? Sure that you want me to hold you, want me to kiss you, want me to be the first person you see every morning, want me to eat hot pot with you, eat instant noodles with you, eat my burnt scrambled eggs with you. She reached up and covered my mouth. Okay. If you keep talking, it'll be dark. I laughed, took her hand away, and held it in mine. Suwon. Thank you. For what? Thank you for bumping into me in the kitchen that day. Thank you for saying meant to see me. Thank you for keeping all those tickets. Thank you for moving here. Thank you for being willing to be with me. She looked at me, her eyes reddening, but she didn't cry. Bae, did you secretly rehearse that? No. Didn't you say before that you weren't good with words? I learned it from you, I said. After I got together with you, I slowly got better. She smiled, a beautiful smile. That night, we drank in the guest house yard. White wine, still chill. Bazan gave us 2 extra dishes, calling them couple special. It was just ordinary seafood, but Suwon ate happily. Bae, Do you think we'll get married someday? She was looking at the wine in her glass, not at me. Her tone was casual, like she was commenting on the next day's weather, but I could hear it. Her voice trembled slightly. Yes, I said. She looked up at me. Something sparkled in her eyes. Are you sure? Sure. When? Whenever you're ready, I said. I'm ready anytime. She put down her glass, walked over to me, bent down, and cupped my face in her hands. When, bae? I'm ready right now. The sea breeze was strong that night. One after another, the stars in the sky were numerous and bright. In the place where the ambiguity began, we made a promise that reached even further. Not an ending, another beginning. After we got back from the sea, I started looking at rings. I didn't tell Suwon about it. I wanted it to be a surprise, but choosing a ring was too hard. I looked at over a dozen shops, my eyes blurry, and still couldn't decide. In the end, Jiziha gave me an idea. Just look at what style she usually wears. Gold or silver, simple or fancy, by according to that. She doesn't usually wear rings, I said. Then ask her best friend. Her best friend will definitely know. I thought about it, right? Suwon had a best friend named Tauntaun. I'd met her twice. She seemed pretty enthusiastic. I opened WeChat and sent her a message. Tauntaun replied instantly, Lin Bei. Are you proposing? Don't let her know. Don't worry. Don't worry. My lips are sealed. Suwon likes simple things, nothing too complicated. She told me before that she doesn't like those small diamonds. She likes a single stone, clean and simple. I made a note, looked at a few more shops, finally chose a platinum band with a single, not too large diamond. Very simple. The day I bought it, I hid the ring behind a book on the shelf, the book Suwon had brought, by her favorite author. I was waiting for the right moment, but I didn't expect the moment to come sooner than I planned. It was an ordinary weekend. We were at home, watching a movie, curled up on the sofa. My arm around her. Halfway through the movie, she suddenly looked up at me. Lin Bei? Are you hiding something from me? My heart tightened. What? You've been secretly looking at things on your phone lately. Every time I get close, you lock the screen. Her eyes scrutinizing. Are you looking at other women? No, I denied it quickly. Absolutely not. Then what are you looking at? I had wanted to wait for a more romantic moment, but since she asked, wait here, I stood up, walked off and took out the small box from behind the book. The moment she saw the box, she froze. What is that? I walked back and knelt down on one knee in front of her. She covered her mouth, her eyes wide. Suwon. I opened the box. The ring sparkled in the light. You asked me earlier if we would get married. I said yes. Will you marry me? She didn't speak. Tears fell, one by one. Unstoppable. Suwon, you, she said through her tears. I'm wearing pajamas. My hair's a mess. I don't have any makeup on. You? Just tell me yes or no, I said with a smile. She nodded vigorously. She held out her hand. Her fingers were trembling. I slipped the ring onto her ring finger. It fit perfectly. She looked at the ring on her finger and cried even harder. She threw herself at me, burying her face in my chest, wiping all her tears on my clothes. Why didn't you jerk? Why didn't you tell me in advance? I could have dressed up. You don't need to dress up. I yelled at her. I like you however you look. There you go again. I'm telling the truth. She looked up. Her eyes were red. Her nose was red. But her smile was beautiful. I will, she said. Of course I will. From that night by the sea, I knew it was always going to be you. The movie was still playing, but neither of us was watching. Outside, the sky was getting dark. The only light in the living room came from the TV. Fui curled up in my arms, glancing at the ring on her finger every now and then smiling to herself. Lin Bei, how did you choose this ring? Tang Tang told me. She said you like simple things. You talked to Tauntaun. She looked up surprised and laughing. And she didn't tell me. Her lips are that sealed. She said her lips were the tightest. Her lips aren't tight at all. She probably just forgot. Suwon laughed and shook her head. I really like this ring. Really like it. She held her hand up to the light from the TV. The diamond refracted tiny specks of light. Lin Bei, we're getting married. Yes. She leaned back into my arms and let out a long breath as if putting down something very, very heavy. I never thought I'd meet someone by the sea and spend my life with him. But now that I've met you, I don't want to let go. She smiled, held my hand and interlaced our fingers. Then don't you? Outside the city was lighting up. A myriad of household lights flickered on. We were one of them now.